were you familiar with Rewiring America?
Yes.
And do you know that Stacey Abrams was their lead counsel?
I believe she was an advisor.
She was.
Yes.
Well, I have it right here. It says that she was, this is from their press release, she was their senior counsel. You're here to testify and answer questions, and you will not answer the questions. You don't know what fair count is. I asked the question, do you know or not? Her name is Janine McClain. Her middle name is Abrams, because that's her maiden name. She's Stacey Abrams' sister. It's a miracle. Yes, your predecessor made $583,000. I suspect you get something similar.
I do not.
So you don't?
That is
you
not my
share?
salary.
Okay, but that was what your predecessor was, because as you said, it's publicly traded or publicly available information.
Yes.
Ms. Yentel, what is your total annual compensation?
In recent months, federal funding to nonprofit organizations has come under sharp scrutiny, particularly regarding its connections to political figures and partisan interests. A major focus of this debate is Power Forward Communities, a coalition of nonprofit groups receiving federal green energy grants to help American families, especially those with low incomes, transition to cleaner, more energy-efficient homes. While the program's stated goal is addressing climate change and energy affordability, critics have raised serious concerns about whether these taxpayer funds are truly being used for environmental purposes, or whether they're indirectly supporting partisan political efforts.
For 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also want to recognize that we have the chairman of DOGE Texas, Giovanni Capriglione, is with us today. Ms. Yentel, you are currently I want to get this right, the CEO of the National Council of Nonprofits. Am I right?
Yes, that's right.
And you were former president of the National Low Income Housing Coalition?
Correct.
Okay. In your current job as the CEO of the National Council of Nonprofits, are you familiar with the nonprofit that has been mentioned here up on the dais, the Power Forward Communities?
I am.
You have, okay.
Yeah.
And that 5 organizations led the Power Forward, and one of them was were you familiar with Rewiring America?
Yes.
And do you know that Stacey Abrams was their lead counsel?
I believe she was an advisor.
She was.
Yes.
Well, I have it right here. It says that she was, this is from their press release, she was their senior counsel. Okay?
Okay.
Stacey Abrams ran for governor of Georgia. What party? Do you know? Are you aware?
Yes, she's a Democrat.
Democrat, okay. And in 2022, she was also the Democratic candidate for governor of Georgia?
I think I'm sure it's true if you're saying.
And she worked with, as we just mentioned, Rewiring America in 2023. Power Forward had a balance of, do you know what the balance was in 2023? We mentioned up here earlier. It was $100. And then, of course, we know in 2020, are you also aware Stacey Abrams campaigned for Joe Biden for president?
If you say so.
Yeah, she's a Democrat. So, Ms. Yentel, you're
the gentleman yield?
no, I don't have enough time. I would. If you
All right.
give me an extra
Thank you, my
minute, I would
friend.
love to.
Okay.
Ms. Yentel, CEO of the National Council of Nonprofits.
Yes.
How much did Joe Biden, his administration, give, Stacey Abrams campaigned for Joe Biden, how much did they give to Power Forward?
So I'm so glad to have a chance to address the
Do you know how much it was?
Egregious mischaracterization.
Okay, was it $2 billion?
I don't know the number.
Okay, it was $2 billion. Okay, that's quite a bump from a C note to $2 billion. How did the Biden administration justify this gift? Do you know?
So what
Why did they give them
happened?
the money?
Thank you. So many of these organizations.
Well, ma'am, do you know how? I don't have the time.
Funding.
Okay, you don't know?
No, I would love to answer the question.
Was it
May
for
I?
green? No, was it? Well, I'm trying to help you because I don't have enough time. Green energy grants?
May I answer the question, sir?
You got 10 seconds. Could you answer the question? Do you know what it was for?
These were coalitions of long-standing organizations.
Okay, so you're not going to answer the question. It was for green energy grants. Once Stacey Abrams got that money, just so happens that 2 other nonprofits that she founded, Fair Count. Have you ever heard of that one?
So I'm here to support
you know what
the
fair
work of
count is or
nonprofit
not?
organizations.
Okay, you don't know. No, Madam Chair,
to target organizations.
Madam Chair, I reclaim my time.
With views separate
Madam
from
Chair,
the administration.
Please freeze the time. You're here to testify and answer questions, and you will not answer the questions. You don't know what fair count is. I asked the question. Do you know or not?
No.
Have you ever heard of it? You've never heard of it? Okay. It's a voter mobilization group for black voters. That does nothing whatsoever to do with green energy. And do you know, just so happens, as a mystery of the universe, it's a coincidence that the president of that organization is a gal named, let's see where her name is. Her name is Janine McClain. Her middle name is Abrams, because that's her maiden name. She's Stacey Abrams' sister. It's a miracle. You want to talk about incestuous. I mean, the Tide Center also was running an organization called Southern Economic Advancement Project.
At the center of this controversy is Stacey Abrams, a well-known Democratic political leader from Georgia. Abrams, who ran for governor and has been active in national politics, served as senior counsel to Rewiring America, one of the nonprofit's leading power-forward communities. While supporters argue that her role reflects expertise and advocacy for underrepresented communities, critics see a conflict of interest, raising questions about whether political allies of the Biden administration are benefiting from these funds. Adding to the controversy, two other nonprofits linked to Abrams' Fair Count and the Southern Economic Advancement Project have been mentioned in congressional hearings. Critics argue that these groups, while branded as civic or economic nonprofits, are deeply connected to Democratic political operations, particularly voter outreach efforts. This led to a heated congressional hearing where Diane Yentel, CEO of the National Council of Nonprofits, was questioned about the oversight of these funds, the political ties involved, and her compensation reflecting broader concerns about accountability in the nonprofit sector. Ultimately, this debate reflects a larger national discussion. Are these grants truly advancing green energy goals, or are they being used to support partisan political infrastructure? How can we ensure transparency and accountability in the use of federal funds by nonprofits? And how do we balance climate action with political neutrality in public funding? These are the questions lawmakers, nonprofit leaders, and the American people are now trying to answer.
They got money as well, and they fund a lot of Hamas protest groups across the country. So this is incestuous, Madam Chair. It's backdealing money laundering from nonprofits. Everyone up on this dais supports true charitable nonprofits, not political nonprofits or basically government organizations, because it's funneling money into the pockets of Democratic activists. Nothing more. Case in point, Ms. Yentel, what is your total annual compensation?
I don't see how that's relevant, but if you're interested, it's public information, which is evidence of the accountability and transparency that nonprofits adhere to.
Yes, your predecessor made $583,000. I suspect you get something similar.
I do not.
So you don't?
That is
you
not
want to share?
my salary.
Okay, but that was what your predecessor was, because as you said, it's publicly traded or publicly available information?
Yes.
When you were the president of the, ironically, National Low-Income Housing Coalition, what was your annual compensation?
That's not quite right, but would you like to?
It was $399,000.
To executive salaries at nonprofits?
It was $399,000, was it not?
Quite, no.
It was not. That's what it says. You're under oath.
I see that it says that. That was not my salary. Thank you.
Okay, so all right. Well, we'll check that out.
Please
Madam
do.
Chair, I yield back.
I now recognize Mr. Garcia from California.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're obviously here for another hearing